I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Osprey Ozone Laptop Backpack, which I've been testing for 2 weeks. Let's dive in. Starting off with the materials here, we have blue sign fabric, blue sign approved fabric, and just kind of like a mix of nylons with different durability to them. So really, like the main thing about this pack is it's like surprisingly lightweight, but because of how lightweight it is, it doesn't have like a ton of structure. So we have a pretty structured back panel, which I'll get into later, and then we have this like stiff front panel, and you can see that it like comes, it's like separated out, and that actually expands as you add gear in, which you'll see a little bit better once we actually get into it. But this material between is super, super lightweight, and I think that's really great because it keeps the bag light. Like this bag is under 2 pounds for 28 liter capacity, and that's pretty solid, but it does make for just like a little bit, like it doesn't really hold its shape very well. And so even with this like loaded out, you can see it's just kind of like collapsing down at the bottom here. Not that big of a deal, honestly. I think this bag does a lot of things pretty well, so we'll get into that shortly. But in terms of like external features here, we have a little bike light down at the bike light loop down at the bottom. You can see Ozone here, so if you ever forget which bag you have, Osprey always labels that, and then just a nice subtle label up at the top. We also have a top carry handle, which is pretty well padded. It is just like on the center here. It's not like on the back or anything like that. And it's just nested between a couple of zippered pockets. So that's nice and comfy to grab. And then we also have this little ID tag. So this is a Travel Sentry luggage ID. And so there's a QR code on the back there, and then your ID code. So instead of doing like a regular traditional luggage tag, you can just register your information on this thing. And what I like about that is that it's just hanging out at the top, and it's pretty subtle. This never got in the way. I honestly forgot that it was there half the time, so you don't have to have something hanging off your bag at all times, which is great if you're not a huge fan of how that looks. But otherwise, we just have YKK zips all around with these nice little paracord zipper pulls with like a little bit of heat shrink, like kind of like a Hypalon-ish material on the edge here. I think you can see it looks like my cat's bit on this one a little bit, but otherwise everything is holding up pretty well across the board with this bag. The back panel here is what I was talking about that has a decent amount of structure. So we just have these 2 shoulder straps. They're fairly lightweight. I mean, like this foam in here, this is like that Airscape mesh back panel is how they describe it. And this is like, it feels very light, and these actual straps themselves are a little bit stiff along the edges here, but pretty comfortable to wear. We also have a sternum strap on a sliding rail, which doesn't move like super, super easily, but it's nice that, you know, once you get it into place, it kind of just hangs out there. We also have loops to attach additional gear if that's something that you're interested in. Then the sternum strap has a little whistle, which we see a lot with Osprey bags, so that's not super out of the ordinary. This back panel also has a luggage pass-through with a hidden zippered security pocket, which I'll get into in a second, and then a side like grab handle here. This is not necessarily anything you would use to carry the bag itself, but is good for quick grabs. But this back panel, like I mentioned, is pretty structured. You can see it's almost like a foam frame sheet in here, and it helps keep the structure on your back, and I'll show you how it fits in a second. But overall, it was pretty comfortable. I never felt like with the straps here, sometimes we have this, we noticed that it like will dig into our necks a little bit, but with this, I didn't have any issues. So comfort overall is pretty solid. So this is the backpack on. You can see it's a little bit long on my torso. I have a 16-inch torso, and you can see almost like a little bit of the interior of the bag like sagging down because of all the stuff that I have. It's like weighed down by the gear inside, but overall it is fairly comfortable. I think that they did a good job making a structured back panel to kind of support the already more like flexible fabrics. And then that sternum strap here does a decent amount of work to get the weight off of my shoulders, which is pretty solid. So overall, pretty comfortable even when this thing is fully packed out, and with 28 liters, you have a lot of space to work with. There are no strap keepers or anything, so straps just kind of dangling around, but never really bothered me. And I never really felt like I needed like a hip belt or anything additional to help support the weight of the pack. Now into the actual storage inside this bag. So starting off with the outside, we have 2 water bottle pockets on either side. It's just like this mesh material. We have an elastic to keep everything nice and secure. I have a 18-ounce water bottle on this side. If I turn it upside down and give it like a little bit of a shake, not really anything is happening here, which is pretty solid. If you have a smaller bottle, it might slip out a little bit easier, but I never really, honestly, these function pretty well as water bottle pockets. Nothing crazy to note about them. As for other storage, we have, I'm gonna go on this back panel, we have this security pocket, which is a great spot for a passport. This is a passport size notebook. So anything like flat that you would want to keep secure against your back is a great spot for this. I think it does a really good job. It's very hidden, honestly. If you just looked at this bag, you wouldn't really even know that there's a pocket behind there. So I think that does the job in terms of security. And then for the other storage. So we have this back laptop compartment. This holds up to a 16-inch laptop. I have a 13-inch in there. Fits nice and snug. We have a decent false bottom. You can't really see, but the pocket ends about there. So you have a good, you know, like, I don't know, that's probably like 5 or 6 inches of space there to work with. So that's pretty solid, just felt nice and secure. This is a little bit like stiff. It's not like an elastic or anything, but I felt like it held my laptop pretty securely. And then you have the rest of the space if you wanted to put like large notebooks, I guess, or something in there. I never really found myself using it, but pretty simple. We also have all of these kind of like AquaGuard style zippers. It's a little bit like softer than AquaGuard. AquaGuard is usually kind of like almost like rubbery, and this doesn't feel that way, but they work pretty well apart from this little quick grab pocket. So I'm going to, of course it opens up nice and smooth when I have to show you on camera, but a lot of the time you can see how this is like caving in. This was a result of this really like super flexible material. Like the material here is so lightweight that even this front stiffer panel didn't really do a really good job at like holding it out if this thing wasn't fully packed to the brim. So 28 liters, if you're using this for like just your laptop and everyday stuff, that there's a good chance you're not going to have this completely full all the time. So that did get a little bit irritating, but I do like this pocket in general. It's like a really soft, it's not even like a mesh, it's just like a soft mesh looking material. And this is where I kept like phone, wallet, that sort of stuff. I'm going to leave this in here for right now. And there's little tabs on either side so you can pull it shut, which I needed because as you can see, it's caving in there. And you kind of see like the zipper is kind of like wiggling almost, like it's like a wavy, which I think also made it a little bit harder to unzip. And then in this front pocket here, we have, it's like an admin panel. This can fold down because of that paneling on the front. But I have a notebook in here. You can see that there's a little bit of space above so you can fit slightly larger items, but it only goes down to about here with that extra storage. And then we have 3 pen slots on one side, 2 mesh pockets here. I just have headphones, and then over here I have my keys on a short little key leash. That's really to just keep your keys from falling down to the bottom of this pack, because here we have, I just have a extra layer stored in here. You can see how much space there is, and that really starts to, like you have a decent amount of space to work with in this pocket, and you can really, really pack it out. And if you didn't, it just kind of like hung out there, but that space was really easy to waste. And it's almost like you needed to pack this out in order to give the rest of the bag structure. So it was a little bit finicky, but a decent sized pocket overall. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. But for now, we're going to get into the main compartment. So I'm going to zip this front compartment back up. You can see just kind of overall the zippers are, I think that was like my biggest gripe with this backpack, was those zippers could be a little bit hard to get in and out of really quickly. Maybe they'll break in over time, but for me over my testing period, they really didn't. So getting into the main compartment, you can see here, I just have a couple of packing cubes in there, and you can see that even with those packing cubes, it's not fully packed out. Again, I think the biggest thing with this is they kind of like, they sell it as like a laptop backpack, right? And so you know, this would be something where you could use it as an everyday commuter, but the size is just a little bit too big in my opinion, because there's a good chance, like unless you're carrying a ton of stuff with you every single day, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to pack this out fully every single day. And then you're going to be dealing with like these kind of like saggy materials. Like you have the structure on the front, the structure from the back panel, and then everything in between just becomes like mush if you're not using it all the way. Especially because now that this pocket, as you can see, which is what I wanted to show you, with this, this is that like center pocket here. With that quick grab pocket, if that's full but the rest of the bag is not, once you have this open, it just kind of like sags down still. And then also if you wanted to load the bag while it was like laying down, when you pull this up, it just kind of hangs. So I think that that's more of like a nitpicky thing. It didn't bug me too much, but I think it kind of points back to those lightweight materials just sort of crunching in. But overall, if I take these packing cubes out, which is easy peasy, you have a lot of space here to work with. And you can see this is like a decent size base down at the bottom here. And it's kind of hard to give you like a full picture of it because it keeps caving in. But let's see. Yeah, there we go. So we get like a decent base down there for you to be able to get your gear in there. So if you're somebody who wants, like there's no additional organization, right? So you're getting all your organization in this top pocket or this front like admin panel. So definitely I would recommend utilizing like packing cubes and pouches and that sort of thing. But if you're somebody who wants a backpack that you can carry every single day and then take it on a trip, load it up with like a weekend's worth of stuff and then just like go straight from the office to the airport or something like that, this is gonna be a really great bag for that. But if you're looking for something that is more of an everyday carry, I would recommend going a little bit smaller than this, just because of the way that it kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit too floppy for me. But these materials, because they are so lightweight and you have a ton of expansion, like when it's not fully packed out, if that structure or lack of structure doesn't bother you, then you know, have a pretty low profile bag for 28 liters. So there's kind of a trade-off there. Definitely depends on what your preferences are, but overall the bag performed pretty well with a little bit of nuance once you got used to like how everything functioned. So there you have it, the Osprey Ozone Laptop Backpack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.